All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be a part of this year's second pollution prevention webinar. If you followed along with our pollution prevention webinar series, you know that we tend to do 4 quarterly webinars each year that have a wide variety of topics that we like to cover, all sort of zoning back into our pollution prevention tactics that we've got and so today, this webinar is being put on by the Tennessee Pollution Prevention Program in collaboration with the Bailey Company and Skillet Farm. My name is Caleb Powell, and I'm an environmental scientist for the Office of Sustainable Practices at TDEC, and I'll be hosting the webinar today for our wonderful speakers. So a couple of housekeeping items. Everyone is muted upon entry to reduce the amount of background noise, but if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to ask those in the chat, and I'll work on asking those to our speakers. And we do hope that you do have questions. That's, I think, one of the benefits of having a live webinar is the ability to ask questions and get those answered on the topics that you're hearing live. So, and then also if you're having any issues with your audio or seeing anything or anything like that, make sure in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and send a chat to everybody right now. Over on your right-hand side, you should see a chat that just came up that says this is the chat box. Ask your questions and give comments here. Like I said, ask your questions here. If you're having any issues at all, please send those issues or any, problems that you're having. And then there is a drop-down box that you want to make sure that the word host or all is on one of the ones that you choose. All participants means it's going to go to everybody in the webinar. If you do all panelists, it's just going to go to the speakers and myself. And then up at the top, you've got host and presenter, those kind of things. But if it's an issue or you have a question, make sure that host or the word all is in that so that at least I will be getting that and making sure that those questions are asked. To give an overview of what we're going to be talking about today, today we're going to explore the intersection of business and environmental responsibility. In today's talk that is entitled, of course, How to Incorporate Sustainability Concepts in Your Business. The hope is to discover actionable items for integrating sustainability principles into your daily operations. And this is going to be coming from we're going to have expert guidance today on material handling, soil health management, preserving biodiversity. Those are just a couple of the topics that we're going to be covering today. You're going to be hearing firsthand from our distinguished speakers from the Bailey Company and Skillet Farm, both of which are recognized for their outstanding commitment to environmental stewardship as recipients of the 2023 Governor's Environmental Stewardship Award. If you haven't heard of we call it GIZA, but the Governor's Environmental Stewardship Award is a yearly awards, if you will, in different categories that really just highlight our top environmental stewards in the state. So if you haven't heard of that, check that out on our website. We just closed nomination periods for the previous year for this 2024 award that is going to be happening later this year. But if you've got projects that are going on this year and would like to nominate yourself or somebody that needs to be nominated, check out our website, and I can send in the follow-up email the link to that so you can keep that in the back of your mind. Today we're going to explore practical solutions and inspire positive change, empowering your business to thrive sustainably while safeguarding the planet for generations to come. And so you see that we've got the Bailey Company and Skillet Farm, two businesses that are alike in some ways, but also very different. And I think that that's something that we need to realize, that you can incorporate sustainability in any type of business that you have. And so I'm excited to hear from two very different businesses today and how they are doing the best they can to, protect our environment. So I will stop talking. First, I want to pass it on over to Ryan Bailey. He's the president of the Bailey Company. I'm going to let him jump into his presentation and then also tell a little bit about himself. So Ryan, passing those presenting capabilities over to you, and the floor is yours.
Great, thanks. Really appreciate it. It's wonderful to speak with you all today, and look forward to telling you all about Bailey and what we're doing here. I guess first about myself, I'm Ryan Bailey, president of Bailey Equipment and Intralogistics. We're a third-generation family-owned and operated business located in Nashville. We've got locations in Knoxville, Chattanooga, and eight locations in Tennessee. So really Nashville all the way east to the mountains, one in Kentucky, and we've also got one branch in Georgia. So we sell and rent service forklift trucks and other warehouse equipment, and also do intralogistics. About myself, I grew up in Nashville. I went to UNC Chapel Hill and studied environmental science there and business. Then went to the Peace Corps in Costa Rica, where I spent 2 years launching a microfinance bank and working with a biological conservation corridor between the volcanoes there. So I spent, a lot of my formative years, I guess, in the environmental science and conservation and entrepreneurship spaces. So really enjoyed that. And then I spent a few years in DC working in microfinance before coming back to Nashville to work at our family business, Bailey. And I also, in 2015, launched Cumberland Kayak, which is an outdoor recreation, outdoor outfitter with locations in Nashville and in Burgess Falls. So we do kayak rentals, hiking trips, and things like that at state parks and in Nashville and in Cookeville are our two main locations. So love to see y'all sometimes. But look forward to giving my presentation here. And today I'm going to be focused on sustainable practices at Bailey. So a bit more of an overview about Bailey and the sustainable best practices. I covered some of this already, but we have 10 locations. We were founded in 1949 by my grandfather. We're a woman-owned company. We're also true certified zero waste. We'll dig into that. But, again, we're the first, actually, I'll hold that. And then we're family-owned and operated. So you can see our locations here on the map. We have, around 200 technicians, a bunch of service vans, and, you might see our vans around town going to fix equipment at customer locations. So we're not just a forklift company. We aim to be able to fix and help build and improve any space in within the four walls of a warehouse or distribution center or manufacturing facility. So we offer equipment. We do primarily forklifts, but we also do other types of equipment: dock and door, fleet management, automation, centralized billing, remote power, parts and tires, warehouse solutions, sustainability, and operator training. So that's some of what we do as a company. Here's a timeline about Bailey. You can see we were started in 1949 by my grandfather. Over the years, we've grown the forklift portion of our business. But over the last 10 years, when I returned to Bailey, we also began this energy efficiency journey, zero waste journey. So in 2013, we started making our vehicle fleet more energy efficient. We started adding solar panels at Bailey. In 2021, we became the first true zero waste certified business in Tennessee. And we've continued that journey as we move forward. So my brother is also out at the company, so we're now mostly on the day-to-day side run by the third generation. We've got a number of different sustainability programs. We're 100% use 100% LED lighting at Bailey. We're zero waste, as we'll discuss further. We're solar powered at 8 locations. One really cool thing is our shops, our mechanic shops, are entirely heated using used oil. So we'll drain the oil out at a customer location, bring it back here, and rather than just disposing of it, we'll actually heat our shops. And then we're a lead sponsor of 10 Green Land Conservancy's Hike-a-thon, which is happening right now in April. It's a lot of fun, but we love supporting their work, expanding and creating these state parks. You'll also see that we try to embed environmental sustainability into our entire core at Bailey. So of our values here, you can see we are a family business. We focus on our customer success. But at the bottom, we've included, we are stewards in the environment. So we try to make sure we're speaking to that side of who we are all the time, every customer, every new employee. Just really, as we go through our day, we try to make sure we're keeping in mind the environment. Bailey True Facts. I want to dig in a little bit more on our zero waste program. So we're certified as of 2021 as Platinum, which is the highest standard from True. True is actually a program of the U.S. Green Building Council. If you all are aware of them, they do the LEED certifications for facilities and buildings. And so True is a zero waste program they launched to really focus on zero waste at the facility level. There are a number of other companies you all might know that are True Zero Waste certified at certain facilities. Some of them might be our Sierra Nevada Brewing Company, Cintas, the uniform company, and some Tesla manufacturing facilities. There are a bunch more. We're lucky to be the first one certified in Tennessee, which we're really proud about, and also the first material handling dealership in the United States to be True Zero Waste certified. So what that means is the platinum level, there's various levels, but the platinum level, we divert 99+% of all waste from the landfill. So if you think about all the waste that comes through your house or through your business, 99% is a lot. And we're able to, recycle, reuse, compost, resell, any of that stuff. That's what we're thinking about. First, how do we reduce the waste coming through? After that, it's how do we reuse it? Then how do we compost it? And then how do we recycle it? So we're trying to hit all those buckets and make sure everything that comes through our system has the best possible, end result for that material. Vendors are obviously key in this initiative. So the compost company has been extremely helpful for us. The compost company has a program there. You're able to even recycle plant and paper-based food products. So, for example, like to-go containers, pizza boxes, used napkins, those types of things that used to have to go into our trash now can get composted, which has been huge. And then Rockwood is a great recycling company that's helped us reduce other elements of our other materials that come through Bailey. So on the right side, I wanted to highlight a couple photos. We've actually been remodeling our building recently, so the facility looks a little better. But at the top here, you can see one of our zero waste stations, and you can see there's a number of different bins. And so we try to separate every single item so that we can most efficiently get that to a vendor, whether it be a recycler, a reuse nonprofit like Turnip Green Creative Reuse, or something we're donating to Goodwill, whatever it may be. And so each of our items, and I don't know the entire list right now, but it's probably over 20. We have the source or the vendor where it's going after it leaves Bailey, a picture, and a title. And for most people, the signage is what gets confusing. So having very clear, effective signage is extremely important for this initiative. You want people to spend as little time as possible when they come to a zero waste station debating or trying to figure out where their item should go. So clear signage is important as well as communication, but it should be as easy as possible. So we have 4 zero waste stations throughout the building. Again, we want to make sure if you're in the break room, you can recycle your food waste. If you're in your office space, you want to be able to recycle your office waste, things of that nature. If you're in a mechanic shop, you're going to have slightly different items. So you just want to make it as easy as possible. And then at the bottom, we've got one of our oil bottle draining stations, which was a great initiative. We got feedback from our recycler that they couldn't recycle our oil bottles because they had oil residue in them. And so one of our mechanics created a device so we can drain oil bottles. We then take that oil that drains out of this device here on the bottom right, and we can use it to heat the shop. So again, we're now taking that oil and putting it to a better use for heating the shop. And then we got clearance from the recycling company, it was now clean enough for them to recycle. So that's the kind of solution we look for. That came from one of our mechanics in Cleveland, Tennessee, and they solved two problems. Two birds, one stone. That's the kind of thing you always look for. But again, we're able to recycle the plastic and heat our shops with that solution. So we turn a problem into a great solution. Here are a couple more photos. This is the mechanic shop zero waste station, and then again, I guess I doubled up on that device because I'm proud of that. But that draining solution's been great. Awards. So in 2023 we won the GISA for sustainable performance. We were really happy to win that award and receive that recognition. That followed our zero waste sustainability certification in 2021. So again, extremely proud to have received that, and it's a great opportunity for us to be able to speak to other businesses and help them with their zero waste journey. In 2021, we received the Business Recycler of the Year award from the Tennessee Recycling Coalition. So that was some really recognition we were proud of as well. So that kind of wraps up my zero waste portion. Happy to answer more questions if there are any as I go at the end or what have you. I want to cover our solar and electric programs. So we've got 8 locations that are solar powered, and we sell the energy back to TVA. We've had 100% LED lighting since 2014, and we also participate in the TVA Energy Right program to incentivize companies to move toward electric forklifts. And so, this portion of our sustainability operation is a little more investment. It's more about investment. I think solar panels, there's an upfront investment. There is an ROI on that. We receive a premium when we sell the energy back. The zero waste work is definitely more behavior. There's definitely an investment in terms of saying the right vendors, the stations, but it is more of a behavioral program. We need to get people participating in the program and buying in, and that we'll speak more about that later. Since we've launched the LED lighting and some of our other energy efficiency initiatives, we've actually reduced overall energy consumption by 20 to 30% in most branches. Sustainability best practices. I want to talk about a few things here. Okay, so we've got 4 main categories: operations, employees, customers, and community, and all are extremely important. So on the operations side, we've found that staff must be clearly assigned to tasks and responsibilities. If there's any gray area, particularly in the zero waste program, it starts to fall apart. So clearly assigned tasks and responsibilities. And communication and coordination are key. When it comes to employees and staff, we try to incentivize staff and management to drive participation in program success. Again, it's an important initiative to us. We make sure we treat it like our other important initiatives, like selling forklifts or fixing forklifts quickly. Being a zero waste company is one of our pillars. Employees can participate in environmental committees and have the ability to influence processes. So again, whether it's, hey, a mechanic coming up with a solution to one of our recycling programs, we try to have a couple of leaders at each branch facility helping guide, their branch programs. We try to make sure everybody's got a voice at the table to keep improving the program, because it's very much a living and breathing program. It's not something that's static and you can just say, okay, that's taken care of and leave in the past. On the customer standpoint, we're showing off our program to customers and suppliers, encouraging them to launch their own initiatives and helping them when we can. And then from a community perspective, we're supporting nonprofits like 10 Green Land Conservancy, Turnip Green Creative Reuse, which takes items and repurposes them for educational programs and artists. And another group we support is Walk Bike Nashville. And then I'll talk more about it. We have an equipment giving program as well. So to dig a little bit more into best practices in operations, we incentivize staff through lunches. Our management team, it does hit their bonus plans on the operational side. We also put it into our reviews. So every annual review, that's something they're graded on. Are they participating in the zero waste program? We're modeling behavior by supplying zero or low waste supplies and meals. For example, if you're rolling out this program and then you order fast food for the group and it's all plastic utensils and styrofoam, right, you've missed a huge opportunity. So we either eliminate the plastic and styrofoam, and we only support vendors that can offer, stuff that we can recycle or compost like paper, or we don't take those on the front end and we provide our own supplies for eating and things like that. We also push on suppliers to offer zero waste friendly packaging and products that are recyclable and reusable. So again, we're trying to eliminate everything in our waste stream, whether it's upstream or downstream. So on the upstream side, it's extremely important if we can talk to Mitsubishi or Crown Equipment, Caterpillar. We're trying to get them to, cut down on their waste that they're sending us, which also, if they'll do that, cuts down on their overall waste as well. So can have a huge impact when we can influence the vendor. And then, again, I already covered this one. We're supporting suppliers, caterers, and vendors that offer zero waste solutions. So that's extremely important as well. For employee engagement, we have all employees sign an environmental sustainability commitment at onboarding, which has been huge. Again, we try to set the tone from the very beginning. We also train new hires on zero waste processes. That's something we've admittedly fallen off a little bit over the last couple of months as we've been doing the remodel. And, you can feel the difference because you start to see some contamination, people are confused. So that's something we're trying to tighten back up on. New hire training is extremely important. Staff can participate in the branch green teams, as I mentioned. And, environmental sustainability is a component of our annual performance review. So again, we just try to embed it in every single thing that we're doing with our staff. For customer engagement, we definitely hit sustainability in our marketing materials, but we're big on making sure we're not greenwashing anything. We want to be, walking the walk, not just talking the talk. We invite customers and suppliers to our facility to see our zero waste programs. We love doing facility tours and showing that off. We try to participate in business roundtables and other events to spread awareness. And I've written about zero waste in the National Business Journal as well. Community engagement, one of our big programs is our equipment giving program. So we choose several, it can be anywhere from like 1 to 3 nonprofits or organizations each year to donate equipment. So we try to make sure we're tying, not only doing monetary donations to groups like 10 Green, but donating equipment to groups that need to move materials and have a real need for what we do in our expertise. I'm also on the board of 10 Green Land Conservancy, and Justin Bailey's on the board of Walk Bike Nashville. And we were a lead sponsor of Turnip Green Creative Reuse's capital campaign. Turnip Green has been extremely helpful over the years, helping us find solutions. For example, we had a number of metal parts that we couldn't figure out what to do with, and they actually found a metal sculpture artist that was excited to take those metal parts and translate them into sculptures. So, fun things like that, but we always love to find, hey, this is, maybe to us this feels like waste, but there's a higher use for somebody else. That's always what we're striving to find. And that's what I got. Thanks, you all.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I don't see any questions right now, but if you do have questions for Ryan, feel free to, oh, actually, one just came in. Before I ask these questions, I completely forgot, usually what we do at the very beginning is ask a Mentimeter question. There's about 4 questions that we like to ask at the very beginning, asking just how knowledgeable you feel on the topics that we're going to go over. Now, I know that half of what the questions I was going to ask you just went over, so people probably feel knowledgeable at this point. It helps us sort of make sure that people are learning from our webinars. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that up right now. If everyone can just act like they haven't heard Ryan's presentation and answer like you thought at the very beginning, and then at the end we're going to ask the same questions and how much you learned. So my apologies on that. I do have a question for you, Ryan, that I will be asking once we get done with this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring over to Mentimeter. If you can pull out your phones, let's see, present. All right, I'm going to go share my desktop. Okay. So you should be seeing this. There's a QR code on the left bottom hand side. You can use that with your phones, and it'll bring it right up. If you want to do it on your computer, you can go to menti.com and use the code that is up in the top, 4438-6602. But so, like I said, I meant to do this at the very beginning. Basically, you're just going to go between 1 and 5 for each of these topics, and talk about how knowledgeable you feel. And like I said, this is before you want to go before Ryan gave his presentation, which I know is sort of hard because now we all know a lot about a lot of these things because of the things that Ryan said. So that is my bad on that part. But we'll be asking these same questions again at the end, hoping to show that we learned something. A couple more seconds. So that's good. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for low answers at the beginning and hopefully higher answers at the end. You know, proving to us that we're actually creating a resource for businesses around the state. Awesome. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that. And then Ryan, let's see, the question that I had for you is, I understand this is a family business, but I'm curious, was Bailey already doing some of this before you came on board? I guess the sustainability aspects is what the question was asking.
Yeah, we had a recycling program, and you know, I would say it was a general mindset from my family to be environmentally minded. We hadn't put the rigorous structure to it, and you know, really tried to elevate it above a recycling program for, you know, the largest items like aluminum, paper, and things of that nature, plastic.
Yeah, I think that this is another part of the question. It said if the company wasn't already doing these things, how hard was it to nudge towards incorporating sustainability principles? I think that that's something that whenever I'm talking to a lot of our environmental health and safety managers and teams at manufacturers or at businesses around the state, you know, that's what's hard. Everybody wants clean air, clean water, but really money talks. And so, you know, like, how hard was it to sort of move towards like your solar? I know that sometimes solar, the ROI is just not there for upper management to allow you to do that. Maybe just sort of talk about how, was it hard? I mean, and I know that this is a family business that's been going on for years, and so you have a little bit more say, you know, than an environmental health and safety manager, but yeah, can you talk to that?
Yeah, I would say that's why we have the success is we're able to get, you know, we have the buy-in at the top, which always makes it easier. You know, we definitely did some of the things you touched on. We tied monetary incentives to this, so we rolled it into service managers' bonus plans for getting their facility up and running with zero waste. So, you know, that cuts down the noise. We try to make sure that there are incentives for all staff as well, and you know, that kind of comes and goes a little bit as we push other initiatives. But I think to your point, the hardest thing is if you're saying environmental sustainability is important, but then you never touch on it in your employee reviews, your weekly meetings, your monthly meetings, you know, this mixed messaging, right? And so what we could try to do is just bring it front and center, right up there. Hey, how many forklifts you sold? Okay, is your facility zero waste, right? And it's not, and so I think just embedding in everything is the key to success. And then I would say on solar, you know, pricing has come down in the years. It's definitely important to make sure you're aware of TVA programs, other governmental incentives to make that ROI more attractive. You know, that is something you should do, and we definitely made sure we took advantage of all those programs That is something, it's more of a capital project that management should do or needs to be bought in on and push. But on the flip side, it does help you emphasize and highlight to your entire team that environmental sustainability is important. So it's a good tone setter, I would say.
Thanks for that. Yeah, and if you have any more questions for Ryan, please send those in the chat box. I really appreciate you sort of giving some insight into your company and all the great work that you guys are doing. So thanks for that. At this point, I'm going to sort of change the pace a little bit and hand it over to Alex Miller. He is the CEO of Skillet Farm, 7th generation farmer, and he's going to talk to us about how environmental stewardship sort of can be a way to help your business survive, and sort of show us a smaller, more rural business and how sustainability can still be incorporated into their day-to-day lives. So I'm going to pass the capabilities over to you, Alex.
Great, thanks. I really appreciate so much what the Bailey family's done and Ryan's role and all that. I was very inspired when I saw their presentation the first time and doubly inspired this time. We've taken a lot away from that, so thank you for that great work. Our operation is very different. We're a farm, and one of the things you might be asking is, why in the world are you hearing from a farmer? Well, farming is also part of industry. It's part of the Tennessee industrial base. 342,000 people employed in farming across the state, $1 billion in global export, $3.5 billion in direct revenues, and $81 billion total economic impact. So we'd like to think that we're part of the economic future of the state. Our little piece of it is called Skillet Farm. Our family's been in farming for 7 generations, but 100 years ago we bought our first piece of land. That was my grandfather who bought this. He had always been up to that point our family had always been sharecroppers or tenant farmers, but we finally scraped up enough money to buy a farm. But it was a worn out hillside farm, and where the neighbors pulled him aside to give him lunch, and the missus of the family, is Mrs. Baker, pulled him aside and said, "Young man, we're excited to have you join our community, but you can't make a go of it on that farm. It's too worn out. Your kids will go hungry. They'll be starving. They'll be licking the skillet." And we became Skillet Farm at that point on that sorry piece of land. That was 132 acres. Today we farm about 1,200 acres. And most of the credit for that goes to people like my father and his siblings. That's my father on the far left of that photo. They did a tremendous amount of work, just blood, sweat, and tears kind of work on the farm to make it a go. And I've continued that work. My brother and I are partners on the farm. And today we have the 4th and the 5th generation living on the farm, and hopefully the farm will continue another 100 years if we can get this thing figured out. We believe that a big part of our making sure the farm lasts another 100 years is this emphasis that we place on sustainability in all regards, especially though in environmental sustainability. One of our top values that we use as a family-owned business is we want to be good ancestors. We were blessed with good ancestors, and we want to bless future generations by being good ancestors for them and good stewards of the land that we've been given. Today we produce beef, poultry, pork, and lamb sold directly to the public. We're adding a couple of new value-added products division. We'll be doing dog food in the future as well. And also we're launching a new business that will use goats and sheep to reclaim land. That'll be their 5th and 6th enterprises that we'll have on the farm. Let's talk a little bit about why farming is such a tough business and sort of put it in the business context. My day job is I'm a business school professor, so I've got to do this. 1919, when we got our start, there were 280,000 farms in Tennessee. 100 years later, there were 66,000 farms. That's 214,000 farms lost in 100 years. That works out to 6 a day. That's 1 every 4 hours for a century. The fact of the matter is that family farms are an endangered species in Tennessee. If you look across the nation, Tennessee farms are the 2nd most endangered in the nation. The only place where we're losing farmland faster and where the policies are any weaker would be in Texas. But there's really, it's a very bleak situation right now in Tennessee. So trying to protect family farms is a major undertaking in the state. Why is it so difficult? Why is this increasingly the face of agriculture in Tennessee? Well, it works out to be an economics thing. In 1919, when my grandfather bought the original land at Skillet Farm, he paid $50 an acre for it, and cattle prices were 8.6 cents a pound. Well, okay, that's not very useful. Let's update that. This is just for inflation, and bring those up to 2019 numbers. Well, in 2019 numbers, he paid $852 an acre for the land, and his cattle prices were $1.48. That was 100 years ago, having adjusted for inflation. So what do the numbers look like in 2019, 100 years later? 100 years later, the land is $12,500. Since then, it's gone up further. I just bought some additional land this week, paid $14,000 for it, and it's really hard to make a living in farming when you're paying $14,000 an acre for land. What's really killing me, though, is that the cattle prices are $1.50. Now, adjusting for inflation, they were $1.48 100 years ago. So what's happened is our number one cost, which is land, is up 1,470%, and our number one source of revenue, which is beef, is up 1%. You think that's a tough business? That's a tough business. Why is it going on? Well, here's what's driving up land costs. People, besides farmers, want land. We don't have policies in the United States that favor reservation of farmland for farming. Anybody should be, we think, in the United States, we tend to think our policies reflect that anybody should be able to buy farmland. So who's the largest owner of farmland in the United States? It's Bill Gates. He looks real good in overalls, doesn't he? He's not farming, obviously. He's buying it for speculative reasons. So that's what's driving land prices up, all of just pure speculation for land and no policies to protect it and preserve it for farming. What's driving down prices is the concentration in the industry. You think you sell into a tough industry? Try selling into one of these. In the beef industry, 84% of all the products produced in beef go through just 4 different companies. And that gives them huge monopoly powers in setting the prices. In the first couple of months of COVID, the prices that they charged you went up 67%. The prices they paid me went down 21%. That's too much market power. You just can't live when you've got a handful of companies that have that much power. And what's really aggravating for a lot of us is that many of these companies, like in the beef business, here's the 4 companies that control the beef business. 2 of those are not even U.S. companies. So we're really being held hostage to international companies, and they're determining how much money there is in conventional farming. The other thing that we're open to in farming that you might not think about is international competition. We sell grass-fed beef. Butcher Box will sell you grass-fed beef delivered to your doorstep, and it'll say, inspected by USDA. What it won't say is that it might have been inspected by the USDA, but it was produced in Australia and New Zealand, shipped nearly 10,000 miles to get to you. It was inspected at the dock. They opened up that freezer container and said, yep, it stayed cold the whole trip, slam the door shut, and stamp it USDA inspected. And you have no idea where it came from. And we compete with those folks. So if you think you're buying local because you're buying grass-fed, don't count on it. There is no labeling requirement whatsoever of where the country of origin was for any of the meat products. And here's the final bit of business I want to talk to you about. How much of the money that you spend on food actually goes to the farmer that produces? According to this analysis from USDA, 7.8 cents out of every food dollar spent in the United States goes to the farmer. Well, if you're paying a fortune for land because you're competing with the likes of Bill Gates, if you're selling into a highly concentrated industry that they can dictate the terms, you're facing international competition, and you're only getting 7.8 cents of the food dollar anyway, this is a recipe for disaster. So when we looked at the farm and said we want to continue, we want to see it survive another 100 years, we realized pretty quickly we're going to have to do something different if we didn't want our farm to join these farms. Part of what we decided to do was to get real serious about environmental stewardship. And we were honored to win the Governor's Environmental Stewardship Award this year, and that reflected about 5 years of really intense effort to get serious about this. I want to pull from that what I think the business lessons are and how environmental stewardship can be a business survival strategy, not just an environmental strategy. And it's going to boil down to these 5 things. I'll talk about the first 2 together. we have found, and I think the Bailey family has found some of this as well, our customers appreciate the fact that we care about animals and we care about the environment. And because they're so devoted to us because of that, it increases our revenue. We sell more and we get higher prices for what we sell. What does that look like? Well, it's very well known in the popular press that eating locally and eating from sustainable producers is a big part of what each of us can do to make a difference in the environment. When Jane Goodall retired from her work in anthropology and studying gorillas, she wrote one more book. And the book, she wanted to write the book on what's the one thing that everybody can do that will have the most impact around the world, from everything from social justice to greenhouse gases to you name it, health and economics. And what she concluded it was eating locally produced green products. And so we're committed to doing that, as well as the whole state is. The Tennessee Department of Agriculture has a very aggressive program called Pick Tennessee, where anyone who wants to participate in this as a consumer and have your impact on the environment through the way you consume food, you go to Pick Tennessee, you enter your zip code, and it'll tell you exactly who the local producers are that you can shop with. It'll give you their contact information. It'll tell you what farmers markets they go to, whether or not they have websites, give you links to all that. It's just never been easier to buy local than it is now. And a large part of that is because the investments that the state has made, and this is an important initiative. Beyond just the environmental part, customers also, our consumers, object to industrial agriculture's animal welfare. One of those 8 values that we have, one of them is that we treat animals as if they were people. They're sentient beings in our opinion, and they deserve to be treated something better than this. So here's what pigs, sheep, and cattle and poultry look like on our place, and it's just a very different lifestyle. Our customers appreciate that, and they want to support us because of it. Consumers also object because of industrial agriculture's environmental degradation. This is well understood. Most people will tell you very quickly that there's a headline that says cattle is, the cattle are the nemesis, that greenhouse gases, the number one source of greenhouse gases are cattle. Well, here's what they actually should say. Produced conventionally as part of industrial agriculture, this is a great big problem. Everything from producing the feed to shipping the animals back and forth and the meat back and forth, and just the degradation of the combined animal feeding operations. All of those are environmental nightmares. But there's plenty of research that says it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to do things like turn the Gulf Coast into a dead zone. The Gulf Coast is now has a dead zone the size of Massachusetts, and much of that has been fueled by conventional industrial agriculture feeding the Mississippi watershed. But there's plenty of indication that raised right, livestock can be more of a solution than a problem. This has been documented in a number of books, and most recently, the research that just came out last week was from MIT, completely independent assessment. MIT is not a big ag school, but their assessment was, yeah, if you raise it right, cattle and other livestock can absolutely be part of the environmental solution, not part of the problem. So we think that that's important to do. All that goes under the heading of regenerative agriculture. Regenerative agriculture says step back from mass production and industrialized production of commodities, and instead get everything on a more manageable scale. And in many ways, it's returning to farming the way farming was before the Industrial Revolution and farming that took place after World War II. So when the farming that we're doing today on the farm in 2019 looks a lot like the farming that my grandfather did in 1919. We've taken some big steps backwards, and I'll show you what some of those are. But when people hear this idea, the question they ask is, well, wait a minute, don't we have to have this huge industrial agricultural complex to feed the world? And my answer is, not so much. After all, how much of the food actually comes from these industrial farm products? And the answer is surprisingly little. Only 10% of the corn crop and 6% of soy is actually eaten by humans as food. And the rest of it's basically an alternative to petrochemicals. And it's heavily subsidized by the government. It's got a lot of negatives associated with it. and it is produced in some ways that are absolutely contrary to environmental stewardship. The other big problem with it is it's not working very well. 1 billion people on Earth today will not have enough food under the current system. When the United Nations looked at this, they recognized that, hey, 7% of the world's population gets its food from small local farms, and they concluded that only small farms and what they call agroecology, what in the United States we'd call regenerative agriculture, can feed the world. So this is, in our opinion, this is the research this is the conclusion of scientists from MIT to the United Nations to you name it. Just walk around the farm, you can see the difference it's having. We think this is making a big difference. And our customers appreciate it. Our customers come out to the farm, they see what we're doing, and they say, what can we do to support this? And what they can do to support it is to buy our products and to pay a price that will make this kind of farming profitable so that we can continue to do it and to grow it. How profitable is it? Well, let's get into some numbers. We're business folks, right? So let's look at numbers. These are USDA reported numbers. They're not our numbers. They're collected by the government. And this is grass-fed beef versus commodity beef. So the commodity beef is the fed corn and soy and a big feedlot. The corn and soy is produced. It's all Roundup ready, genetically modified stuff. It's heavily watered, heavily fertilized, heavily fumigated. It's got, I'm looking out my window at a neighbor's field that will be sprayed somewhere between 6 and 8 times a year because he raises conventional corn and soybeans on that field. And we simply reject all that and say, well, animals weren't designed to be, our ruminants weren't designed to eat corn and soy. That's like trying to raise a kid on candy. You can do it, but they're going to be sickly. What ruminants were designed to eat is grass, so we feed ours nothing but grass. We fed nothing but grass for 23 generations of animals on our farm. 23 generations of cattle on our farm have had nothing but grass. And as a result of that, we're able to charge it. It's what's called the grass-fed premium. If you look at the average, the price range for grass-fed beef is in the first 2 columns. The average is in the 3rd column. The average for commodity beef is in the 4th column. And the difference between those, the 3rd and 4th column, is in the last column. And you can see premiums range up to nearly $30 a pound for meat that's produced on grass. So there's the numbers on beef. How about for pork? Same thing. Here's the, we raise our pigs on pasture and in the woods because they're monogastrics. They have a simple stomach, not a ruminant. They need additional protein besides what they can take in. They're used to eating bugs and worms and dead animals and all sorts of stuff because they're omnivores. So we do feed them we do feed them supplemental protein and energy. It comes in the form of grain, but it is not corn and soy. So we don't feed any corn or soy. So within the pastured pork, we're at the top end of this because of what we feed. But even if you're just the average pasture-produced pork, you can see that the premiums are pretty significant. Just take that last row for bacon. We charge $18 a pound for our bacon because it's not only is it pastured, but it's wood finished, and the animals don't eat corn and soy, which don't have any flavor to them. Instead, we finish them on peas and barley and whatever the nuts they're getting out of the woods, and people are happy to pay that price for them. So there is a nice premium. Again, the customers are supporting this and making it work. Poultry, same numbers. If you just read through there, you get the same idea. USDA's reporting on lamb is a little bit different. They don't have a commodity lamb. They do have the average price for grass-fed lamb. Again, our lamb only eat forages. They don't have any grain fed to them. And the prices you see there, well, let's put it this way. If we sold those lambs into conventional markets, we would get, by the time they were processed, our piece of it would be about $6 a pound. And you can see the weighted average that grass-fed lamb is getting there. So in other words, all this makes good business sense. We do this because we think it's right, but one of the reasons we think it's right is because we believe it's key to our business surviving. We are able to sell directly to the consumer, so we cut out all those middle people. Instead of just getting 7.8 cents of the food dollar, we get a much bigger chunk of it, and we're able to to charge more because we've got customers that want to vote with their pocketbook and support this. So that's customer devotion and increased revenues. The second thing I'll hit on is decreased investment input and increased productivity. How's that happen? Well, first one, I want to underline something that Ryan said. Yeah, to us, solar is just a no-brainer. In agriculture, at least, there's money to support the addition to solar energy to farms, and we always want to have a solar project underway. And so here's our company headquarters in this little converted house that we're in. You can see there's solar panels on that. If you look closely, you can see there's a farm stand there. That's our little honor market farm stand for local customers come and they buy. We have a standard that we want to produce enough solar power that it fuels all of our freezers and coolers on the farm, and that's a stretch goal for us, but we're committed to hitting that. Beyond that, here's the challenges we face. This is an example of the kind of farmland that we would buy. As we've grown from 132 acres to about 1,200 acres, we're constantly buying farmland, little bits and pieces as we're able to get them. They all have to touch for it to make sense. And here's a piece of land that we bought. You can see the infrastructure is in an absolute mess. This was the land that we bought. This is conventionally tilled and farmed land that it's just it's as bad as Skillet was when we first bought it. It is worn out. That is dead land. It took us 3 years of work to rejuvenate that land because we're committed to doing so without any synthetic fertilizer. So instead of just expensive tillage equipment that big industrial agriculture depends upon, and instead of really high intensity planting, we depend upon this one machine to do all of our planting and tilling. It's a no-till drill. This is considered best practice by the NRCS, the National Conservation Resource Services. It much less disruptive to the land, reduces much less carbon into the environment, and stabilizes the land, prevents the erosion, and it's just a smart thing to do, both, again, environmentally and economically. And instead of big palatial livestock facilities like a lot of industrial farms will have, we instead adjusted our genetics so that they were much more tolerant of the environment that we have. Here's an example of a bull. This is a Sinopole breed. They come out of the U.S. Virgin Islands where they're used to the hot weather, the bad forages, and the insects, and they consider summers here to be an absolute cakewalk for them. So we changed that, and then we said instead of putting them in barns, we're going to plant trees. We were the first farm in Tennessee to be paid to plant trees for carbon credits. We've sold all of our carbon credits to an author who travels the world promoting his or her books. We don't know who the person is; it's all anonymous. But we do know that they're offsetting all their travel by the trees that we plant on the farm, and we get paid to plant those trees. But these trees are also providing shade for animals, so it's a win all the way around. Instead of high input annual corn and beans, which is very, very bad on the environment, all genetically modified, all heavily fertilized with synthetic fertilizers, heavily watered, typically heavily watered, and then fumigated. It gets pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. It's not fungicides, what fungicides are all put on these crops usually a couple of times a year. We don't do any of that. Instead, we planted low input perennial natives, working with University of Tennessee's experts on restoring native grasses to Tennessee. Instead of expensive synthetic fertilizers that get spread by big, expensive, and polluting trucks, what we do is we have an understanding with all the tree trimming crews around here that we want all the wood chips that you can bring us. They bring us huge mountains of wood chips because they don't have to pay the tipping fees to get rid of them. We combine that with manure and with lost animals that die. And then we also move our animals around so that in the winter the fertilizer gets spread by the dung that they're dropping on each different field. And then we plant forages that are specifically designed to improve the fertility of our lands, such that we just got back this year's soil test. We were looking at 7 different fields we were thinking about fertilizing. Not a single one of them needed any additional supplements. After 5 years of this, the land is now getting by with no fertilizer, no lime, no inputs whatsoever, and that's just a big win for the environment and a big win for our pocketbooks as well. So the fields, here's those fields that we bought 5 years ago. here's what they look like today. As the cattle are being rotated, we rotate the cattle either once a day or sometimes even multiple times a day, and that they tromp all that stuff that they don't eat into the ground. It just gives more organic matter, and it's just it's a beautiful thing to see animals fattened in the way that they're meant to be fattened. Last one is the intergenerational support. Years ago, I did a piece of research for the university on why businesses adopt environmental practices before they're required to do so by law. And out of several reasons that we uncovered, the one that really stood out to me was an Italian company that makes computer chips. Computer chips are a really nasty business. And the founder of this particular business was very clear. He'd gone fishing one day with his son, and his son, they had a heart-to-heart talk, and his son said, "Dad, I don't want anything to do with you or your business. You're nasty, you're polluting the world. You had a chance to do something right, and instead you did it wrong." And to reconcile those differences, that CEO made a commitment that they would produce the greenest chips that they could produce. I believe there's something to that. I think you can see that in family business like the Bailey family, and you can certainly see it in ours. If you talk to our family members, the reason the fourth and fifth generation are on the farm today is because of our commitment to the environment. They care about the environment in a way that it simply wasn't pressed on me nearly as much as it has been pressed on these next generations. And we think that a key part of the sustainability of the farm is the sustainability of the family. And a key part of that is doing right by the environment. Again, being good ancestors. So the bottom line, 3 takeaways for you. I think any business out there can use environmental stewardship to engage its stakeholders, both its employees, its family members, and if it turns out to be a family business, and the public and its consumers. All those are stakeholders that are going to appreciate environmental stewardship, increasingly so. You can also, if you do that, you can increase your revenues, and then you can also use environmental stewardship to decrease investment and expenses. Those 3 things combined for us have been a winning formula, and we see environmental stewardship as a key to our business going on and lasting for another 100 years. And we'll never go back to the industrial agriculture that we used to practice and that most farms still practice today. All right, Kate, well, that's for me. If anybody wants to ever contact me, here's my contact information. Feel free to contact me anytime. If you want to come visit the farm, we're happy to do that. Really want to engage with other businesses in this environmental movement. Caleb, back to you.
Thank you so much, Alex. It's always interesting to, I heard, during the Giza Awards a little bit about your farm, but I appreciate you sort of building out this amazing presentation, talking about what you guys have done and just sort of how sustainability and environmental stewardship really should be incorporated in all different businesses. I think that this webinar has done a tremendous job of that. I think I got a question. Let's see. So this is a question, sort of a comment. For your farm, what are you doing to prepare for the next generation? I know basically everything that you do, you're preparing for the next generation. I love how you talked and said, we want to be good ancestors. I've never thought of it that way, but it's such a great thought process. And I guess, everything that you've been working towards on your farm has been preparing for the next generation. I don't know if you wanted to go into a little bit more.
I can say 1 or 2 things additionally. That's a business issue as much as anything, preparing for the next generation. So here's what my wife and I have created an LLC that actually owns all the farm's assets. And what we're looking for now is not just our own children, but other young people who want to be farmers, but who couldn't possibly afford to buy into farming today and make a go of it. And we partner with those folks to put them in business. So we have 2 of our 4 children are working on the farm today. A 3rd is living on the farm but not working here. But we have beyond that, we have, I think, currently 7 other families that are affiliated with the farm, and we put all those folks in business. Basically, we're treating the farm as a venture capital opportunity to put young people in the business of farming, and we partner with them, and it's a straightforward business deal. They run the place, we cover the overhead and fixed costs and all that sort of thing. They sell everything under the same brand, and we split the gross margin 50-50. They take half of it to pay themselves a wage, and we take the other half to pay all those fixed costs and overhead and the corporate costs. And the nice thing about it is that they can get into farming with never putting a dime at risk. The farm is prepared to take all the risk. All they've got to do is they've got to risk their time and their effort, and maybe their sanity, but they don't have to put any money up. We'll put all the money up and put them into business. And our goal is that this farm, at one time, the land that we farm today probably supported about 15 families in the past. We think if we do it right, it might be able to support 10 or 12 families in the future, and we're working very hard to make that happen.
Well, I really appreciate the work. So there was one more question. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. We're about 2 minutes over, but it says, do you partner with any schools and or 4-H type programs to increase awareness?
We partner with our local schools. We have 4 generations of our family that all attended the local elementary school, and we partner with them. We also partner with some other nonprofits to do a variety of different things, but our engagement with the school is limited. Well, I started to say that. It's limited to one public school, and then we also partner with a private school. That is, the private school happens to be it's for homeschoolers who are living on homesteads, and they do an event here on the farm as well. So we partner with a couple. We could do more, but to tell you the truth, there's just a limit to the bandwidth and the number of things that we can take on, and we've really got our work cut out for us just being farmers, and so that sort of limits how much of that work we can do.
Absolutely, and there was one more comment that just said that they absolutely love this farm. So you got fans out there in the audience. I'm a huge fan of the farm as well, and the goal for me, my grandparents have a family farm that I grew up on. He rented out just to do hay. He doesn't want to farm anymore, but my goal is to move out there and take things that I've learned from people like you and sort of keep the farmland and sort of get my hands dirty. So I'm sure that you and I will be talking in the future about ways that I can sort of incorporate the stuff that you've done at your farm into my farm once I can get out there. I wanted to bring back up our Mentimeter question for everybody that is still with us. If you could, hopefully you're seeing that. Use your phone. If you go back to your Safari on your phone, and it should still have it. We've had a couple people go ahead and answer. So as a result of this webinar, the question or the comment is, I feel more knowledgeable about the following. Same 4 topics as before. The hope is that there is a higher, and it looks like it is. So it's exciting to know that that people are learning from these webinars. I wanted to, all right, let's see, give it one more minute. A couple more answers coming back in. Awesome. So trying to be cognizant of everybody's time. First off, just have to say thank you so much to our speakers. I think that a lot of times we sort of focus in on one type of business or one topic when it comes to our pollution prevention webinars, and I think that this was such a cool thread, seeing 2 very different businesses, but seeing the common idea of incorporating sustainability. There's so many likenesses and differences in both of your businesses, but I just appreciate what you're doing for not only businesses here in the state, but also as an example, but also for our environment. So no more questions. If you do have questions and you think of them later on, feel free to shoot those to my email, or if you got our speakers' emails, I'm sure they wouldn't mind answering a question for you. The webinar recording and presentation slides will be available on our website. Always make sure to check our website to see upcoming webinars that we've got going on or resources that we are building out for our businesses around the state. I will be sending out a follow-up with the slides and the webinar recording as well. Our next pollution prevention webinar is going to be on June 5th at 1 p.m. I'm putting that in the chat right now. I don't know if it has the registration, but it's going to be on anaerobic digestion. So excited about that. There'll be more information on that coming out. appreciate everyone for joining. Appreciate you, Alex and Ryan. You guys, I appreciate you putting the presentation together and just for all the work that you guys do. Everyone have a great rest of the week, and yeah, that's it.